Okay. So far what we have done in terms of using variables. So what we have seen that we have declared variables inside functions, right? For this example, we have this variable radius, which is of type integer, and it is declared inside the main function, right? So this variable is called a local variable. So this variable is recognized inside the main function, and outside main function, this variable is not recognized, okay? So we have also declared variables inside functions, right? So when these functions are called, so those variables are visible, and after that, those variables are basically gone. So they are considered as local variables when they are defined inside a function, right? Now, let's say sometime we want to use some variables or some constant throughout the program. So, and we want that all the functions, they should recognize those variables or constants, right? So how can we do that, right? So for example, let's say in this program, we define two functions, one that computes the area of a circle and the other computes the circumference of the circle, right? So we have two functions, let's say one is area, which will take the radius as argument or parameter, and then it will return us the area of circle, okay? And then second, we have, let's say, circumference function, and it will take also radius, and it will return the circumference. And now you know that from basic maths, that area of circle is pi times radius, and circumference is 2 times pi times radius, right? So here we are using pi in both the functions, right? So how about, instead of passing pi as a parameter, how about we declare pi as a global variable, right? So that it can be recognized inside area and inside circumference and inside main function as well, right? So the idea of global variable is that whenever you need some data item, which should be recognized inside all the functions, so we should declare them as global variable. But we should basically very attentive on that. We should not pick all the variable as global variable because we should only expose that much data which is needed, right? So we should be careful when we basically declare global variables or global constants, right? So here in this case, let's say we declare pi as a global variable, right? So how do we do that? So we declare basically a variable global. So we have to declare it outside all the functions, right? Or in a separate file. So here in this case, we will declare this pi as double, which is pi, which has decimal point value, right? And let's say name is pi. And then we, let's say, assign a value 3.1415, right? Approximate value, right? So now this double pi, you see that we are declaring it outside area function, circumference function, and main function, right? So now here, if you'll see that if I use pi in area function, circumference function, or main function, I can use them. I can use it uh, very easily, right? So here now, if I, for the area, what I can do basically, can do pi times radius, okay? And then I can, for the circumference, I can do this. Okay, and let's say the radius I am keeping 2, and here I am basically displaying that area. Okay, so now here you see that I am calling area function with the radius only and circumference function with the radius parameter only, and pi is a variable that I have declared outside. So here I can use pi inside area function, I can use it inside circumference function, okay? And it should work fine. Okay, so you will see that. Okay, so you see that. So it is basically working fine, and it gives me the circumference and the area, right? Now, let's say if instead of declaring pi outside, if I declare it here, I declare it here inside main function, right? So now you see that we have this problem, right? So pi is highlighted, red highlighted, right? Red underscore, and pi is also red underscore here, because now circumference and area, they do not recognize pi, because pi now has become a local variable which has been declared inside main function. So circumference function and area function, they do not recognize pi, because pi is local to only main function and main function recognizes that. So that's why if we have to, if you want some parameter or some data which should be recognized by all functions, so we need to declare them as global variable. So global variable is simple to declare, just like you have declared inside a function. So you need to provide a type of that variable, name, and a value if you want, right? So you can later initialize that value also. So here now pi is a variable. If we put actually keyword const, then it will become a constant, right? So you can do that. Okay. So now here it is basically